does Dallas need a third star really? Because they did have a lot of success last season. They played well, made it to the playoffs, and had a good stint, but they really didn't seem as a true contender. I know Luka Doncic is a rising star in the NBA and potential MVP candidate maybe this year or years to come, but do do you guys see this as a potential like big splash team that can go in for like a big named player like Bradley Beal or Rudy Gobert?
All right. So before I start, the reason we're even talking about any of this is because according to Woj, the players just voted and they're perfectly fine with the season starting on December 22nd. So that was a big news bomb that just dropped. And that's why we decided to hop right on the pod and start talking about free agency as soon as possible. But back to your question of does Dallas need a third star? Yeah, they do need a third star. I know they have Luka Doncic, who, like you said, he's probably going to be an MVP candidate this year. But if you look up and down their roster, they don't have anything to trade to get a star. So you mentioned guys like Bradley Beal and Rudy Gobert, and those guys would be a good fit on the team. Maybe even Rudy Gobert as a better fit because we know Kristaps isn't the best defensive big man out there. But who are they going to give up? Look at their roster. They don't really have anything to trade, and I don't know if their salary cap situation looks good enough to sign any of the, I guess you could call them stars that are available in the free agent market. But there's not really that many star players in the free agent market either.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely one of the weakest pools we've seen in quite a bit.
yeah, so really, I don't know how they could get it this year. I I think wait for them to be a little bit more active once they get a little bit more assets to get rid of.
What do you think, Brandon?
Well, first off, to Sam's point, for I think they do have might have a couple assets. Mark Cuban has said that he is actively shopping the 18th pick. We know that Mark Cuban doesn't mind dealing out first round picks. That's how he got Kristaps Porzingis,
Mm-hmm.
who, by the way, and just to make a side point really quick, is going to be out for the first couple of weeks of the season. His surgeon has come out and said that he won't even be ready since the start is going to be December 22nd. He won't be ready. And that's been an issue with Kristaps is if you can keep him healthy, especially after coming off um, an Achilles injury that he suffered while he was playing in New York. So so it's going to be a
Was
little
it
bit
the
more
Achilles or the ACL? Because I thought I kind of vaguely remember the play where he went up for a rebound or something and twisted his knee. I don't think it was the Achilles.
It might have been something in his knee.
Yeah, someone get on the fact check for that. But
It's actually a meniscus in the right
okay,
knee.
somewhere
Yeah,
in the knee.
meniscus.
I was
Yeah.
close.
All right. So
Yeah, go ahead.
So he's all, but since then he's been dealing with injury issues. Like he hasn't played. He's played for Dallas, but there's also been times that he's sat out either. I mean, to rest him so that way he's not playing like on a back-to-back and stuff like that to try to keep him healthy. But also I think he was missing through a good portion of the playoffs as well, and even some of the seeding games. But just to go back to the point about assets, I mean, they do have, and they have some big contracts they can move, and certainly some assets. Maybe not a guy for like Bradley Beal, but Rudy Gobert, who's still an all-star, but I don't think will have a similar. It doesn't have like the same similar impact as a third star as that Bradley Beal would.
Hold on. I know Ben's got some thoughts on this, but I need to respond to you saying that Rudy Gobert might not have as much value to the Dallas Mavericks as other potential.
I think they need a scorer, if anything. I think they need another scorer
Let me
alongside Luka. I don't know if they need a guy
let me
that's
tell
going to
you.
be a rim protector.
Kristaps Porzingis can average 24 points in the NBA, get you about 10 to
Yeah, but
12
can he stay
rebounds.
healthy?
This is where Gobert comes in. Kristaps usually gets hurt or dinged up like when he's playing the 5 position and guarding some of these centers. I know that Dallas really didn't allow for Kristaps to flourish in his 4 position. I know that Doncic was allowed out for a lot of the regular season, and it led them to not really cohesively come in together and play as a good unit. But when the bubble came around and they started playing well, we saw potentially what this team could be. If they get a defensive anchor that takes away from already Kristaps Porzingis, one of the best defensive players in the NBA, we're looking at 2 of the potentially best shot blockers in the NBA paired on the
Listen,
same team
their front
with
court will be scary.
Luka Doncic running the offense. I mean, nastiest pick and roll, nastiest pick and pop because KP can shoot it. There's just Rudy Gobert seems like a crazy signing.
Yeah, I mean it would, but just to go back to I think they need more help offensively than anything like that, especially if they're going to give up assets like Tim Hardaway Jr. or a Dwight Powell that can play alongside Kristaps already, that has DeLon Wright, Maxi Kleba that we've seen play alongside Kristaps, and Seth Curry and
Yeah,
Dorian
Seth's playing
Finney-Smith.
phenomenal.
Yeah, again, I still feel like they need another scorer to go alongside Luka. I don't know if a rim protector is going to be really needed here. They also might go after. I think they might even try to go after Drew Holiday, just because we know Luka can be very exploited on the perimeter as not the best defender. So that could be another option for them as a third star. Mark Cuban has come out and said that he wants to trade for a third star. It's we have to wait and see.
What are your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really difficult, unless for Rudy Gobert, unless the rifts with him and Donovan Mitchell come back up, which then I suspect Utah is gonna just hold on Donovan Mitchell.
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, I I think if they're going to go after a star that they can get with the assets that they have, it's someone who has been kind of poking around in trade rumors because his contract is very weird. I would say Victor Oladipo might be their guy. If you want to add another scorer, he can definitely be there. He's a good defensive player. Of course, there's the hitch that he's only going to be there for 1 year, probably because he wanted to go to Miami, and that seems to have fallen through. And maybe he doesn't want to stay in a place like Dallas. But you never know, really. We thought Paul George is going to the Lakers, but he stayed with the Oklahoma City for a year or two, when then he left. But I think it's very it's going to come down to, are they willing to give up a lot? Because let's say if you go back and if you give up your 18th, Darrell Wright, Tim Hardaway Jr., and another guy for Bradley Beal or for a Rudy Gobert, does that team have enough depth to win? Because that's a significant problem with a team like, the reason why we look at a team like Dallas is, oh, Miami's a contender and Dallas isn't, is because even if they do trade for a third star, which in all honesty they could, but if they do they have a bench to win? Are they going to run into the same problem that the 76ers have when they don't have anyone coming off the bench?
Nah, I don't believe so, and here's why. I mean, when you assemble like a big three, if you fill in Rudy Gobert or Bradley Beal, even Victor Oladipo into this team, you're gonna see what I call the LeBron effect happen to Dallas, where all the veterans start flocking over because they could think they can add a championship to their resume for near the minimum, if not minimum. But a lot of players go to where they think they can win championships. And if you're telling me you compare two great defensive anchors with Luka Doncic, or you compare Luka Doncic with Bradley Beal, who's one of the best shooting guards in the NBA, let Luka really flourish at his one spot, getting a guy who can catch and shoot and create his own shot. I feel like there's no doubt that Mark Cuban pulls the trigger on this trade. Dallas really has nothing to lose this year. They're going to go all in on trying to build something special for like a dynasty purpose, kind of. They're trying to be in contention to win championships for a long time, and trading for a player like Bradley Beal. We haven't spoken a lot about Bradley Beal, and I want to get your guys' opinions on this, but Bradley Beal's a baller, guys. I don't know if we forgot because the Wizards, in the bubble and whatnot, but Bradley Beal's a stud, and he did miss the bubble. I believe he opted out. It might have been due to injury or not. I'm not 100% sure on that. But Bradley Beal,
Yeah, Bradley didn't play because of injury.
yeah. Bradley Beal really, really, really is one of the premier shooting guards in the NBA. I mean, there's players like DeMar DeRozan out there who are getting their names in trade talks, and there's players all over the NBA who frankly aren't as good as Bradley Beal. The only person that I can see up there is DeMar DeRozan, which also potentially could get traded to the Mavs. We don't know. But what are your guys' thoughts on Bradley Beal? Because we haven't given it enough light, I believe.
We're still talking about the Mavs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys really think an 18th pick and some half veterans count enough for Bradley Beal? Come on, guys. Let's be realistic. Would he fit on that team? Of course. You put anyone next to Luka Doncic and they're going to score like 30 points a game. He's going to find them wide open. Yeah. Well, I mean, John Wall at least isn't the same kind of playmaker as Luka. John Wall was more score first. But either way, right? Like, of course, you put any star scorer next to Luka Doncic and they're going to feast. But you got to get him there first. And first of all, Washington seems very hesitant to get rid of that core. They think that John Wall and Bradley Beal can be special together. Whether that is delusional or not is not for us to decide. But they don't want to get rid of that team, especially when Miami was making a push for Bradley Beal last year, and they're going to try to make a push for him again this year. And if they haven't done it yet, when Miami has a lot more assets than Dallas does, I don't think they're going to pull the trigger there.
Yeah, Washington's not delusional. They have a good core moving forward.
Yeah, maybe DeRozan is a more realistic option because we know the Spurs are going to be looking to blow up the roster and initiate a rebuild of some sort. Probably not a huge extent like we've seen some other teams do, but they're gonna try to retool and rebuild.
Yeah, I'd love to see LaMarcus Aldridge go back to Portland and finish off his career there. That would be a hell of a story.
Yeah, but basically to wrap up my point, I don't think that the Mavs have enough to get Beal. Would he fit there? Of course, but you have to get him there first. What do you